Hello everyone, this is Zibo and welcome to today's video. So in today's video, we are going to run through what equipments should we pull for, as well as briefly talk about the heroes in the upcoming banner. So the reason why I'm just going to talk about the equipments is because I think most of the upcoming heroes, they have been around for quite a while, except for Kana. And I think most people will have a slight understanding about these heroes. So instead of talking about heroes, I'm going to talk about the equipments because there's a new equipment for Future Knight. So I'm just going to talk about the variants altogether. And then also just briefly talk about the heroes as well as whether or not these equipments, they'll be useful in other circumstances. So without further ado, let us start today's first equipment, and that is none other than Atomic Destroyer. So Atomic Destroyer is the exclusive weapon for Future Knight, and Future Knight's exclusive weapon doesn't really change doesn't really have a exclusive ability, right? The exclusive ability for this weapon changes the original ability of Future Knight, making her more of a semi-tank warrior compared to the usual damage dealer that she is. So is this weapon worth your pull? The answer is yes, if and only if you're an arena centric player, because this weapon is kind of mediocre everywhere else. It doesn't make her a tank, so she doesn't really fit well in the tank role for your PvE purposes, right? Your orbital lift, your Tower Horizon. Maybe Tower Horizon she's okay because she deals damage there, but in terms of story mode, I think she's not very good as well, because she doesn't really taunt, she doesn't really protect your team, and she isn't particularly tanky, right? So that's one issue for her for PvE. And for Colosseum side, she doesn't excel there as well, because like I mentioned many times, Warrior AI sucks in Colosseum, and because she has a better variance, which is the range form in Colosseum. So it's better for you to use her range form compared to her melee form. So yes, only pull for Atomic Destroyer if you want to run her in the arena, and this is definitely a great addition for the existing hero to return from being an underrated arena to a strong arena hero. So the next weapon is Cosmic Destroyer. So Cosmic Destroyer might be a pretty mediocre weapon for a lot of people, because this weapon makes her party buff weapon skill regen speed plus 30%. So this is the main difference between this weapon to Atomic Destroyer. So Atomic Destroyer makes her party buff become defense plus 45%, which makes her a semi-tank, and this weapon makes her as a damage dealer, right? So that's the difference between the two weapons. But the thing is, because weapon skill regen speed isn't really a particularly strong party buff outside of Colosseum, right? Within the likes of Guild Raid itself, this weapon is more used for the basic resist down, because when you equip with this weapon, Future Knight actually has the ability to apply basic resist down. So she's very strong within the basic raid team, but she's pretty mediocre in every other elemental teams. So that's the issue with her, but right now she's still good in the basic raid team. And this weapon isn't really that strong in arena, because arena is very hyper offensive, so people are killing you faster than you can unleash your second weapon skill. So weapon skill regen speed isn't really that strong if you don't really have a defensive buff to back it up. And I think the safest way to make sure that you get your double, or rather get your defensive buff up, is to run two tanks, right? One HP buff and one defense buff, whereas if you do that, you lose a lot of damage. So that's why weapon skill regen speed is kind of not that optimal right now, so you don't really see a lot of gun Future Knight in arena. But Future Knight in Colosseum is simply amazing, because I think she's the only unique right now with the weapon skill regen speed party buff, and this party buff makes it such that whoever has Future Knight has the ability to throw their weapon skill first. So in Colosseum, where it's AI maneuvered, where whoever throws weapon skill first is pretty much going to secure the win, Future Knight is a lot stronger in that department. But other than that, I think the Cosmic Destroyer is not superb, right? So pull for Cosmic Destroyer if you want to finish up your basic raid team, and if you want to have a decent and powerful party buff for the Colosseum, right? Because if you have a chain which you can fit Future Knight in, and you value the weapon skill regen speed, then I think this weapon is an okay pull. But other than that, I think if you're an arena centric person, Cosmic Destroyer is the better one. But if you have the resources, going for both and pulling for Future Knight altogether can give you a lot of variations because you can switch between the two weapons. You know, sometimes you might just want to play your weapon skill with Gen Speed Veronica teams, and then sometimes you just want to play your standard melee team with defensive buff. So that's the strength of the new Future Knight, and pull for Future Knight if you want a little bit more variety. Next up, we have Scientist on the Beach exclusive weapon, Nerout. So this weapon is the most mediocre of the bunch because the hero itself is pretty mediocre in all the different game modes. So he is usable in Raid, usable in Colosseum, as well as Arena. However, in Arena, you have a lot of good basic units, so he often isn't your first choice. And for Raid itself, I think the melee basic team, right, it's okay, right? You have a lot of good melee basic unit. You have Kana, you know, you have a Knight you can use, but overall the archetype is not strong because they don't really have a light resist down in their normal attack, and they don't really have a way to buff their damage unlike the likes of Lucy or Veronica. So overall, basic melee team is okay, but not the strongest unless you have a boss which you can counter with that team. Not advised to use a basic melee team. So he is pretty meh in Raid as well. And lastly, for Colosseum, I think it's a place where Sohi shines, but right now it's not really like a light infested meta. It used to be the case, so when light infested meta is a thing, then Sohi is a good counter because she can chase after the backline, kill all the light units quickly, and then, you know, from there onwards your backline can do more job than your opponent. So that's Sohi's job, but right now light is not a thing. Like mono light is still a thing, but it's not the strongest thing, so Sohi is still considered mediocre in my opinion because she doesn't really fare very well against Noxia Okma. So that's one thing which I would like to point out. So as a Sohi user myself, she has difficulty clearing these two Colosseum big bosses which are very prominent, so that's why she's not that good there. So overall, this weapon is not a must pull. Okay, so next weapon is Kana's exclusive weapon, Mind Snap. So Kana is the nichest hero of the bunch because any hero with the elemental attack buff, right, the basic attack plus 50%, is gonna lock her in a specific elemental team, so that reduces her versatility, and that's why her weapon is kind of super duper niche as well because you're kind of locked to basic. You can use her in mono basic team in Arena, but Kana isn't good in Colosseum, so you know, like, you rather use Eva in Colosseum for your basic teams. So yes, if you want to play Arena and you run mono basic team, then this weapon is probably a must pull to go together with White Tiger Kana. So Kana's issue is with the niche portion, but overall I'll say that Kana is a pretty powerful Arena unit because she's able to chain pretty easily, she has high mobility, and if you slot her into mono basic team, it's actually pretty powerful because I use the team setup myself. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful team. So yeah, that being said, I think Mind Snap is just super exclusive. If you want to play Arena, if you want to play Kana, then pull for Mind Snap. So the last weapon on today's list is Terminator, which is Rule's exclusive weapon. So this weapon is probably the strongest weapon to pull for on this list because of the hero itself. So right now, in case you guys haven't realized, Mono Earth is probably the strongest meta team in a variety of game modes, right? Raid, you have Colosseum, you have Arena, right? So Mono Earth in Arena, you run Rue, Mariel, and Kamel, and you add in Rue because Rue is one of the beasts in Arena, and her weapon is very powerful because it makes her a semi-range unit, increases her normal attack range as well as increases her damage. And other than that, I think this gun is the only Earth gun available that's decent, right? Because if I remember correctly, right, there are other Earth guns, but they are not as good as Rule's Earth gun. So this is a Terminator Earth gun. So the other Earth gun you can run is Merciless. So let's talk about the Earth guns, right? So let's say if you want to run Rue in Raid and she's not your primary unit, you can actually just run Merciless if you want to save up on your gems, because Merciless is also an Earth weapon, and this allows Rue to benefit from her own Earth attack party buff. But back to the weapon itself, so if you're talking about Terminator, is the strongest on the list because Rue is the strongest unit on the whole unit list today, And because Rue is quite versatile in literally all the game modes. Rue is strong in Colosseum because of her backline chasing ability. You can run your Rue, Camel, your Earth setup, and you will see the results, trust me. And for Arena itself, I think a lot of people should have experienced Mono Earth themselves, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. So this weapon literally made Rue a beast in Arena as well, because if Rue doesn't have this weapon, she hits like a melee unit, which severely limits her ability. But this weapon itself increases her normal attack range as well as damage by 10%, so it plays quite a significant part in making Rue the beast she is in Arena. So yeah, Terminator is the weapon to go for if you are a meta chaser right now, if you want to form your mono Earth teams for your raid, your Colosseum, for your Arena. So yeah, that's pretty much it for all the weapons. Overall, I'll say that all the weapons on today's list, they are pretty situational. They are not like a mass pool, because the heroes, they are situational, right? So Atomic Destroyer, situational for Future Knight Arena, and Cosmic Destroyer, situational for Future Knight Colosseum and Raid. And you have Nerau, which is situational for Sohi, which is probably better in Colosseum but usable in other game modes as well. And then we have Kana, which is super niche to Arena Raid, basic Arena teams. And lastly, we have Terminator, which is generally pretty versatile, but Rue excels way better in your Arena game mode. So yeah, all these heroes, they're pretty niche, so are their weapons. And I guess that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully this video is helpful for those of you guys who are thinking, what should I go for? Whether I should save for the upcoming anime collab. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like and subscribe in order to see more videos from the channel. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.